Dwarf engineers are those highly schooled members of the illustrious Dwarf Engineers Guild, who are known throughout the world as unparalleled masters of science, gadgets, and technology. If a dwarf shows a particular aptitude towards machinery, he may be granted an apprenticeship within the Engineers Guild, whose duty is to provide the dwarf holds access with the latest of a long line of technological advancements. Most engineers spend much of their time repairing broken components and cursing the shoddy work of the engineer who first constructed it. They are also responsible for the creation of blueprints or schematics for new potential technology. If the guild thinks a concept is worthy enough, the guild will fund the dwarf with all the equipment, materials, and help needed. Most inventions never quite take off, but others, such as the legendary gyrocopter, quite literally did. When these dwarves are called to war, they often employ their services toward a dwarf throng as expert artillerymen, whose main duty is to administrate the well-being of the army's machinery and cannons during combat. On a few occasions, these dwarves have also been called into service as pilots for the gyrocopter squadrons, for only an engineer has the proper knowledge and experience to properly control these machines when taking off. Should these dwarfs be pressed into the front lines, engineers often carry with them an assortment of gadgets and black powder weaponry that has the potential to devastate an enemy regiment wholesale. They employ their expertise to great effect in combat, shooting blunderbusses, throwing grenades at the enemy, and even calling down artillery bombardments whenever it is needed. In melee, they employ even more explosives or pummel their foes into submission using their engineering spanners and other assorted tools. The guild is able to muster its own military forces to accompany trade caravans or move between holds on expeditions. With the ability to field powerful war machines, it can be a devastating force on the battlefield. Given the number of war machines with which the dwarves can equip themselves, it is not surprising to find members of the Engineers Guild accompanying a throng to battle. To most master engineers, this field work is tiresome, as it takes them away from their forges and workshops, and shows them firsthand how their beloved engines of destruction are dragged into position, dented by enemy shot, and invariably aimed in a manner not as fully optimized as would be ideal. As all dwarves revere fine craftsmanship, their war machines are the most polished and best cared for in the world, treated by their crew with all the respect due a venerable clan member. Nonetheless, even this level of care falls well short of the wishes of the notoriously cantankerous engineers. After a battle, master engineers oversee repairs, but during the fight, they are exceptional, if gruff, at directing crews on how to best aim and fire a war machine. Theirs is a skill born of intimate familiarity with the workings of each device. With a glance, a master engineer can tell when a bolt thrower is set with too much torsion, or when conditions warrant extra black powder for an organ gun. They are consummate craftsmen, being able to gauge the intricacies of laying the deadliest of cannon shots, or giving advice on how to best to carve boulders into the most accurate ammunition for a grudge thrower. A master engineer can also direct the rapid construction of effective entrenchments, such as stacked stone walls or dug-out gun pits, that offer protection from enemy missile fire to both war machine and crew. Master engineers are doughty warriors, and while they might be more interested in drafting plans for fortifications or designing new mines, they are more than capable of fighting in the front lines. To protect their precious war machines, they fight with all the determination and grit of their race. Zhufbar, or Torrent Gate, is located near the lost hold of Karak Varn. The hold is entrenched within a large canyon with a flow of water from the lake named Blackwater, known to the dwarves as Draz Varn. Water wheels in their thousands power the vast amounts of machinery, for Zhufbar is rightly famous. Whilst at night the light from the hundreds of furnaces make the area glow. Created as an industrial center, the hold also has the most important shrine for the Dwarf Engineers Guild, and their guildmaster sits on the King's Council. Many types of machinery subsequently used throughout the Dwarven Empire were developed and tested at Zhufbar, such as powerful pumps used to clear flooded mines. The hold grew large enough to house its large population of 125,000, but by the imperial calendar 2510, it had shrunk to approximately 12,000 adult dwarves. Zhufbar has extensive defenses as it is surrounded by many tribes of orcs and goblins in the mountains. Whilst the inner part of the hold is only open to dwarves and trusted dwarf friends, in addition to the more obvious defenses, there are retractable towers, rune-inscribed blasted walls, ironclad bunkers, and launch bays for the large air fleet based within. From below, Skaven clashed with miners, but there is enough mineral wealth to take the risk of keeping the mines open. The rune-inscribed heavy iron gates can only be opened by one of 4 keys, held by the King, Queen, Gatekeeper, and the Guildmaster of the Engineers Guild, respectively. Any greenskins that approach within 30 yards of the gate will cause runes upon it to glow red. Burlok Damminsson is a guildmaster of the Dwarf Engineers Guild and Dwarf Lord. He is considered to be one of the greatest engineers of all time, and like all true Dwarven engineers, Burlok is a strong traditionalist when it comes to his work, believing firmly in the tried and true methods of production. Though now he discourages innovation, his younger days, Burlok eschewed the guild's traditionalism and, together with his friend Sven Hasselfriesian, secretly engaged in all kinds of technological experiments. Eventually, his days as a technical innovator ended with an accidental pressure vessel explosion which blew off Burlok's arm. This turned him around and he began to become more of a traditionalist. Sven, meanwhile, remained unfazed and continued his reckless innovations and was eventually expelled from the guild. Burlok replaced his arm, designing the Bionic, Burlok's ingenious offensive pneumatic integrated constrictor arm, which gives him unsurpassed strength. Sven Hasselfriesian was a dwarf engineer who, along with Burlok, managed to destroy the Dwarf Engineers Guild of Karazakrak in 2350 of the Imperial Calendar, while performing tests on high-pressure vessels. Sven was a dwarf who emigrated to Lustria after being expelled from the Engineers Guild. During his time working with the guild, he had become interested in the construction of steam or alcohol-powered engines and was one day struck with the idea of building a boat powered by such an engine. The notoriously traditionalist guild was opposed to his idea, but Sven persisted until the guild finally forced Sven to undergo a ritual of humiliation, after which he was expelled. He set out from Barakvar in 2355 of the Imperial Calendar in his ship, and finally reaching the Tarantula coast, having fought off a number of attacks from creatures of the deep. In Lustria, he established himself as a blacksmith at the trading port of Iquitos on the Amako River. Sven made a good living and was able to set about realizing his ambition. After 3 years of work, the engine was finally near completed, and Sven employed Norse craftsmen from the port to construct the hull. When it was completed, Sven named it the Volkswagen after his mother. Since then, Sven has become captain of the boat and has become successful ferrying passengers and freight up and down the great Amako River and its tributaries. Sven has been involved in numerous skirmishes against the Slan, and is by now completely immune to their poisons. One evening, as he was getting drunk with Jogo Jorikson in the Packet Inn, he was approached by Harald Havengat from the village of Vestervik and the Ljunga River, who was seeking aid against the Slan raiders. Bored, drunk, and seeking adventure, Sven agreed to aid them and set about gathering a small group of fighters, but discovers most sellswords have already departed. He enlists some old friends, a group of Norse berserkers and a sea elf archer on holiday, and they set off for the village. In the second edition, he carried a rune-bedecked warhammer, with cutting and smashing runes, runes of swiftness, runes of return, and a shield and mithril shirt. Grim Burloksson is the youngest dwarf to ever become a master engineer. He is the son of Guildmaster Burlok Damminsson, and quickly proved to be a skilled inventor and engineer, even as a beardling. Whilst other guildmasters did concede his skill, they were dismayed that he did not seem to value the ancient laws as he should do. In his youth, he created a steam-powered beard braider, a double-barreled rifle, and a self-lighting pipe. His battle helm is worn with a telescopic sight, and his modified crossbow bolts and enhanced black powder is highly valued. Finally, like his father, he has a steam-powered gauntlet. He is also famous for using a brace of dwarf pistols, and his double-barreled rifle is sometimes known as the Grudge Raker, which might act like a twin-barreled rifle or a shotgun. He also wields a cog axe, a steam-powered weapon able to catch and break the weapons of his enemies. Malakai Makaisson was a master engineer, but is now a slayer. He was the mastermind behind the creation of a dwarven ironclad steamship named Unsinkable that tragically sank on its maiden voyage, taking most of its crew members with it. After that, he invented an airship named the Indestructible, which catastrophically exploded on its first flight, killing its courageous dwarven crew. After this final disaster, Malakai was thrown out of the Engineers Guild. Such was his dishonor that Malakai shaved his hair into a mohawk and took the Slayer Oath. Although known as a Slayer, Malakai Makaisson didn't stop inventing, and in 2499 of the Imperial Calendar, he created a new airship. After an episode with Thankwall and Bone Ripper that tried to steal the new airship, named the Spirit of Grugni, Gotrek and Felix used the Zeppelin to make a voyage deep into the Chaos Wastes to evacuate the lost dwarf hold of Karakdum. Coming back, they saved the young Ulrika Magdova in the steppes of Kislev from being kidnapped by Thankwall's Skaven. The airship even survived a confrontation with a large dragon before it went to Karakadrin for repair and refitting. While Gotrek, Felix, and a bunch of other slayers killed the dragon, the airship came in just at the last moment to destroy an overwhelming horde of orcs and goblins with its bombing, as well as a bandit army that was out for the dragon's treasure. Then he brought the surviving adventurers to Kislevite city of Prague. There, Malakai's airship's bombings later helped to destroy a large chaos army that laid siege on the city. Later, Malakai Makaisson constructed the Goblin Hewer, an axe-throwing machinery of destruction. With that new invention, he became a mercenary that worked exclusively for the Dwarves, Empire, and Dogs of War armies, and would be part of the Slayer cult army during the Storm of Chaos. In the beginning of the Storm of Chaos, he was also hired by the Imperial Gunnery School of Nuln to transport new cannons and mortars with his new airship to the besieged city of Middenheim, but his airship and freight never arrived there because of an intrigue of a secret chaos sorcerer who secretly had bound demons to the gunmetal of the weapon. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and or share. I should have 2 more videos coming out before next week, so stay tuned for that. One of those being the follow-up to this video, which is some speculation on the engineer content that we expect to see for the dwarves. So, stay tuned, see you soon.